not sure I've ever felt more back. Today's Monday, April 3rd, just baseball show. Got two of the three of us, which is a little change up, Jack and Peter. It was really fun to so I got to call my first three games of the season this weekend, which was awesome. But then I would come back and I would turn on the late slate. And dude, just sitting on my ass watching baseball, it was awesome.
And what's so great about that, too, we have a takeaway from every single team because there's interesting storylines kind of sprinkled throughout the first couple of games. It's fun to kind of overreact, but there are some things that we might have predicted that are already looking good or things that we didn't that are not looking so good.
Right. And we did takeaways after opening day, too. We did it with Ryan Finkelstein. And we did, predictions pretty much for opening day. But now it's like a little bit larger sample, and then we'll go almost game by game. But it's kind of nice to take those overreactions from the weekend because they are a little, not extrapolated, but the sample is just larger. Like the Cubs, their struggle 4 through 9 in that lineup all of a sudden is over 3 games instead of 1. You know what I mean? So now there's a little bit more validity to our claims, which is good.
And it feels so good to sweat out bets again. I can't lie.
So you obviously you rode Cal Quantrill. I just told you that the splitter changeup type thing that Trevor Stephan threw to Eugenio Suarez in the 10th on Sunday was just ungodly. And the Guardians get that win again. And that was a game that looked like they were going to lose. And then all of a sudden, the Guardians offense scores. The bullpen doesn't allow runs. And here we go. Cal Quantrill gets another win under his belt, even though he doesn't get the actual decision.
Yes. So that's the point of Cal Quantrill. People come after me. They're like, oh, so you think he's the best pitcher alive? You think he's the ace? Yes, of course, I joke around and I say, yes, he's the best pitcher alive. But the point of Cal Quantrill, it's more of a symbol for something. It's a symbol for how the Guardians play when he steps on the mound. He led all major league pitchers last year in run support. The pitchers that come behind him are amazing. We saw that bullpen on full display today, or excuse me, on Sunday. We're recording on Sunday, but for Monday, of course, like you mentioned it yourself, Stephan with that splitter. How about Heron coming in, that lefty who retired 4 straight with 4 strikeouts? De Los Santos, Eli Morgan, Nick Sandlin, friend of the podcast. So while Quantrill is 14th in ERA since 2021, the great part about him is the Guardians are always into it. And that speaks to the Guardians that no matter what game, no matter if they're down, their bullpen can shut the door and they piece together runs like nobody's business. The Guardians, they're one of my favorite win total bets on the season, 86.5. They're not a team that models or, professional sports bettors tend to love.
Yeah.
But they win games.
And they're gritty.
And also, shout out Kyle Taylor art, Kyle Taylor portraits. I know you got your Mark Burley, and I assume it's amazing.
Yes, it's awesome. I still have to hang it, but he's got Cal, Mookie, and Shohei behind Peter on YouTube. And then I've got Burley that I have to hang. It was a long weekend, so I will certainly be hanging it today. But Kyle Taylor is awesome. He is an excellent listener, and he is an amazing artist. So
check out his Twitter in our episode description. You guys got to go check out his art. As you can see from my wall, and you'll see on Jack's wall soon, they're fantastic. And he personalizes them, and they just look great, right? They're real art pieces, and I'm so happy to have the 3 GOATs behind me. You have Mookie Betts off to a great start. You have Shohei Ohtani looking like the best pitcher alive, and he's hitting close to 400. And then you have the greatest pitcher alive behind me.
I get it, man. I get it. All right, we are going to roll through every team. Peter's got the American League. I've got the National League. But before we get to that, I have a simple question that is very complicated. Was Jack Flaherty good in his first start of the season on Saturday? It was a 4-1 win for St. Louis. Now, before you answer that, let's walk through the line. Jack Flaherty, 5 innings, no hits, no runs. 7 walks, a hit batter, 4 strikeouts. He threw 95 pitches in 5 innings, 49 of which for strikes. That's a 51% strike rate. Average for a starting pitcher is around 66%. So he had 0 command. He allowed 8 base runners. His whip is at 1.4. but he threw 5 no-hit shutout innings. So, Peter, did he throw well on Saturday?
I think you could look at it through two different angles. Angle number one, you expect Jack Flaherty. He's been healthy this past offseason, and he was projected to be a very good starter. He didn't have his command there. He got the ground ball when needed, but you expect much more from a guy like Jack Flaherty. So in that lens, you could say, no, he didn't pitch very well. The command wasn't there. He got outs when he needed to. No hits is no hits, which is great, but you can't call that a good start if you have 7 walks. Angle number 2, right? He's a guy who has been dealing with injuries and injuries and injuries, it seems like, over and over again. I think his last full healthy season was back, 2019, maybe? I think that was really his last full healthy season on the St. Louis Cardinals. And his command wasn't there, and he still got the outs when he needed to. I think that's the point. And maybe people were worried about a velocity drop-off, right? It was like, well, he's 89 to 90, but to me, it looked like he was varying his velocity, right? Maybe he was trying new things because he was up to almost 95 miles an hour, but some of his slower fastballs were 88. Now, I'm not used to that with Jack Flaherty. Could that be an injury thing that was still hurting him today? It could be, but he got the outs when he needed, and I was excited to watch him pitch because he's a guy that I think is a huge X factor for the Cardinals, right? Because if he can be the really strong number 2 that he was, that's a huge get for the Cardinals. And the fact that he came up, showed up, and didn't allow a hit, I thought was very impressive considering the circumstances that he was coming in with to the game.
So you're more in the second camp than the first camp, is what it sounds like.
I am in the second camp because I didn't assume that he would dominate. I guess it's like, what was your expectations for the start?
I had none.
Okay. My expectations were, I didn't think he'd pitch all that well. I thought he'd look really rusty, and he did look rusty with the command. But I think what that start showed is that he's got so much talent in the tank. It's just about finding it. It's about being fully healthy for him. I don't think anyone can debate that he's incredibly talented.
Yeah, no, he's talented, but talent needs command as well. Like, in order to be truly good or great, you need to have a nice combination of command and the God-given ability that you have. And he showcased his God-given ability. He showcased a nice pitch mix. It was good to see that Jack Flaherty back. But 7 walks in 5 innings, I think, is like unacceptable, especially with a hit batter too. Like, 8 free passes in 5 innings is egregious. And I thought, even in terms of pitch economy, like over 90 pitches through 5, that's not what you want, but you can survive it if you are not putting yourself in positions where you could get burned badly. Felt like every inning he was in a position to get burned badly. He didn't, which I appreciate. And I can say that he had a good outing because he did not get burned badly. And listen, like, the ERA is at 0.00. I am all for limiting run accumulation. Like, that is the goal of pitching. So in that lens, I appreciate what he did. But I'm also of the thinking that you cannot play with fire for that long. Because if he was out there for one more hitter, he might have gotten fucked. You know what I mean? So, like, 8 free passes in 5 innings is crazy. The other thing that I want to point to is we had like a kind of subdued version of this conversation in regards to Hunter Green last year, who threw 7 1/3 no-hit in Pittsburgh in May. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
He walked 5.
Yeah, I remember when he first came up, the command was all over the place. So I don't remember that specific start, but I remember the conversation of being like, when I look at Hunter Green, he's 100 with the slider, setting records for hitting 100 miles an hour in a game. I think it was 30 plus in one start, but he didn't know where it was going. And then we saw him settle into, a really nice second half. So could this be Flaherty, right? The talent is there. He had the confidence of, even if I allow some runners on base, I know that against any team on the planet, I can get them out. Considering this was not 7, 8 walks, no hits against the A's, right? This was against the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays can really hit.
Which is why I can appreciate.
I also thought it was pretty impressive what he did considering the circumstances.
So I can appreciate the no runs thing because it's the Jays, but again, like I just can't wrap my head around thinking that 8 free passes is like, hey, great outing, man. Like I'm not the first one that's like, you kicked ass tonight, because I think
I'm
Jack
not
Flaherty
saying
would
that
tell
either.
you.
I'm not
No, I
saying
know.
that.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I won't, if we entertain dialogue about like, did Hunter Green have a good outing when he walked 5 in 7 1/3 no hit and threw 118 pitches, but got into the 8th? If we are like even having the conversation, like maybe he didn't have a great outing, even though it was, no hit. I don't think we can say that Flaherty had a good outing. You know what I mean? Because like, I don't know. There's something about pitching into the 8th versus like getting through 5 and being in crap situations every inning.
Yes. No, like I'm not here to say that Jack Flaherty had this fantastic start.
No, but he didn't pitch terribly either.
What I am here to say is he's a huge X factor. I can't speak for the guy, but I assume as he walks off the field, he shakes Ollie Marmol's hands. He gets high fives in the dugouts, and he looks up at the scoreboard and sees 0 hits after dealing with years of injuries and not looking like himself after he gave up 8 walks. There has to be a level of confidence there. We saw the confidence early on when he posted that, that hype video for himself.
Right.
So I'm more looking forward to next starts, right? And I think that was important for him. And it might end up proving to be actually better than a 5 innings, 5 hits, 2-run outing.
For sure.
Because it's a confidence builder, right? Like, against the Blue Jays, I allowed 7 walks and 1 hit by pitch, and I didn't allow a hit or a run. Like, I got it. It's just about finding the strike zone and making that adjustment. And I think he does, as long as his arm is at full health.
Yeah, but my thing is like, you need to twist it just enough for it to look wholly positive. You know what I mean? Like, let's
and I'm
ignore...
not calling it wholly positive.
I know.
But I'm saying I'm much more positive than I think most people are, and way more positive than I think people who just looked at the box score. Because I know we both watched the game, and watching Flaherty work through those things, I came away confident in the guy.
Yeah.
And I think that was my point.
I guess I didn't, and that's just where we disagree. Like, I just think he was flirting with danger way too much, but we shall see.
And it's exciting, right? We're both rooting for him.
Yeah,
and he's also a guy, I played him in high school. He was the greatest athlete I think I've ever seen on the baseball field. And I will admit, I have a rooting interest for the guy. I really hope that he's good. So maybe in my mind, I already go into his starts with a glass half full approach. But I don't think I'm being overly biased here by, looking at the start, watching it, and being like, that was a good confidence builder. I'm very excited to see him in his next start.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you get some confidence, but like, again, I can't buy into him feeling great going into the next outing because he allowed 8 free passes. But that's it. So again, very loaded yes or no question. And I think both of our answer was yes and no.
I think it's the most fascinating question of the weekend. Because you don't see stat lines like that. You don't see 8 free passes and no hits. Like, that just doesn't happen.
But also sneaky, like, there were a lot of guys that walked the world this weekend. There were a ton of 3-4 walk box scores.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the hell is in the water right now?
You know what I fucking noticed? How many bloop hits did you see?
A lot.
So many bloop hits.
You know why? Because the second baseman isn't in shallow right field anymore.
Exactly. I'm like, are these center fielders playing at the warning track? How are they not getting these balls? I'm like, wait a minute. They got a lot of ground to cover, and there's not infielders setting up camp, pitching.
Welcome to baseball
in the middle of right field. So those are things where I was like, oh, what is this baseball? I'm like, wait a minute, this is kind of awesome. It creates so much chaos. I love it,
man. All right,
we'll go back and forth. We'll go in the East. We'll I'll go Yankees, and you go whatever. We'll just go back and forth.
So I'm thinking we go divisions entirely. So like, I'll go NL East, then you go AL East.
I kind of want to switch back and forth. We got the back and forth.
But like, that could be confusing, right?
Is it going to be confusing?
It's like,
I feel like if you listen to this podcast, I hope you know the divisions.
Yes, but it could be confusing. It's like in the NCAA tournament, you'll see it. tonight in the national championship game, the men's national championship game. By the way, freaking awesome women's Final Four and national title game. Caitlin Clark is
Those
goated.
refs, fuck them, dude. Those
Caitlin Clark
refs
has 2 more
sucked.
years of eligibility. Be very happy that she will probably be an Iowa Hawkeye for those 2 years.
The Steph Curry of women's basketball, and I know everybody's saying that, but it's facts. She can drill a shot from anywhere. She's pulling up from the logo, and she's got a dog in her.
Crazy. But
she's got it. She's
my
awesome.
point is, in the men's Final Four, when they do the intros, you will see a San Diego State player introduced and then a UConn player introduced. Wouldn't you just prefer to see the entire San Diego State starting 5 and then the entire UConn starting 5?
All right, fuck it. We'll just do whatever you want.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go NL East first, and then you're going to go AL East.
Perfect.
Okay. Let me start here with the National League East as I pull it up on Microsoft OneNote, which is the best thing literally ever, and you cannot take it away from me ever. The Braves, you hope to God that Schuster bounces back and Dylan Dodd is ready to roll. Max Fried, he's not expected to miss any more than 1 or 2 starts. He'll probably go on the IL just for a little bit, but having an ace go on the IL on opening day is brutal. Schuster struck out 1. He walked 5 against the Washington Nationals in 4 2/3. Dodd starts in St. Louis. We saw how good that lineup is. I'm a little nervous for the young lefties after such a good spring.
I'm just kind of nervous, but I'm kind of not. And I've talked about this before on the Just Baseball show, right? The automatic system. And I had the under, and I honestly should have played this system, but I was a little bit afraid because it was the first start of the season for him. And I do like him, but you fade rookies on the road in their first start on the road. I know I said on the road twice, but it matters.
Yeah.
And a guy like that, tons of nerves, I'm assuming, tons of them, division rival. And he has a really bad first inning. Couldn't find the strike zone, was giving up base hits. But then he really settled in, right? That game, didn't really get out of hand. The Braves, they're supposed to score 5 runs against the Nationals, but they got shut down by Mackenzie Gore. I thought he did a nice job of settling in. And the Braves, when I was listening to them, talk about his start, I think they gave him the player of the game because of the way he settled in after giving up those 4 runs. Okay. Because nobody on offense deserved the player of the game. So they had to, if they're the Braves boot, they're going to give it to someone. And I think they were happy with the way he found the strike zone. So I agree. He's got to find it. He can't have those first inning bursts, but I was happy with the way he settled down.
Yeah, it sounds like you'll be placing some hard-earned coin on the St. Louis Cardinals when they take on Dylan Dodd and the Atlanta Braves. The Mets, Kodai Senga looked great aside from some spotty command. Brett Beatty is torching AAA is honestly my biggest takeaway right now. Beatty hit 2 homers, 111 the other way in Worcester. He had a crazy defensive play. Why I get the whole Eduardo Escobar against left-handed pitching thing, but why are we wasting our time pretending that Brett Beatty shouldn't be the everyday third baseman?
Doesn't make any sense. And I think there's one prospect in each league that it makes no sense why they're not on the major league roster. Grayson Rodriguez with the Orioles, and it's Brett Beatty with the Mets. It makes no sense. It's not like they signed Correa, right, to play third, and we're thinking, okay, yeah, it makes sense to start Beatty because he doesn't really
play
have
a corner.
Right
he'll
now.
Figure out how to play there, yeah.
But arguably the worst player in the Mets lineup is their third baseman. It makes no sense to me. I don't even have an explanation. It just does not make sense.
Yeah, that was my big takeaway from the Mets. I mean, they beat the Marlins.
Shout out David Peterson. He looked great.
Yeah, he did, but I think a lot of people were expecting him to look good.
I
think that when Quintana went down, some people were saying this could be a talent upgrade from Quintana, and I think we saw that from Peterson.
Yeah.
The Phillies were recording during Sunday Night Baseball, so this is not taking into account what happens on Sunday, but 27 runs allowed in 2 games is not great, everybody. Seranthony Dominguez has an infinity ERA right now. Didn't get an out, allow 4 earned runs. Craig Kimbrell has an ERA at 81. Kimbrell, we knew could have been over the hill, but Seranthony Dominguez was throwing the 8th inning in massive World Series games last time we saw him. And here we go with him absolutely crapping the bed in Arlington. So I'm not too worried about Seranthony Dominguez, but I mean, if this pitching staff can't stop the bleeding, they could be in for some rough nights.
Yeah, like if Nola and Wheeler are not at their best, they could be in for some rough nights. And we
And they
certainly saw
weren't.
that with Wheeler. Exactly. And Nola didn't pitch that great either.
Yeah, it was weird, man. And like I think everybody circled Nola and DeGrom as like, hey, I gotta watch this game. And they both kind of stunk it up.
Yeah, they did. And when they stink it up, it just seems like the Phillies have no shot.
Yeah.
Because the offense, if they run slightly cold and Wheeler and Nola give up 4 or 5 runs, and then the bullpen comes in, which isn't performing well right now, like you just the game's over. You lost.
Yeah.
So you need that bullpen to bounce back, and you need some good starts out of Nola and Wheeler, or else, maybe the Phillies are an out in the playoffs. I'm not saying it. It's way too early to say that.
We're
But
3 games in.
that formula does not work, is basically what I'm saying.
No, not at all. And like it was probably just a really crappy weekend and they'll bounce back. The Marlins, Luis Ariz has 9 hits. Nobody else has more than 5. Ariz is awesome.
Yeah.
The rest of that offense is barf.
Yeah, Soler hit a bomb, but
Soler's got 4 hits. Garrett Cooper King has 5 hits.
Yeah.
Then I think Fortes has 3 and everybody else has like 1 or 2.
Yeah. I mean, some of these at bats too, like Avi Garcia. I mean, what in the world is your plan at the plate? What is your plan? Swinging at sliders like 2-0. Ugh.
He was out of the lineup.
And then the bottom
of
exactly. Yeah. Continue.
He was out of the lineup game 2, and then he was hitting cleanup against a right-handed arm game 3.
There you go.
What?
Yeah. Not ideal.
Mackenzie Gore looked all right for the Nats.
All right. He looked phenomenal.
He walked 3.
Yes.
But that's like, I don't think that's a problem that's here to stay. I think that I think a healthy Gore is the one you saw at the beginning of last year when he looked like the National League Rookie of the Year frontrunner. So I honestly just think it's a matter of health now that he's overcome whatever obstacles those were in 2021. I think Mackenzie Gore, while he's not the next coming of Clayton Kershaw like he was tabbed at the end of 2019, I think he's going to be a good major league starting pitcher. And I don't think that he's going to be an ace, but I think that he's going to be a great 3 for the Washington Nationals.
I agree. I think he's the best pitcher currently on their staff. When you think about it, Josiah Gray gets bombed, Patrick Corbin gets bombed, and then Mackenzie Gore shuts down one of the best offenses in Major League Baseball that were actually better against left-handed pitching last year. Tons of whiffs on that fastball. His breaking ball looked great. The command wasn't quite there, but you can understand it from, a young guy trying to pitch around that gauntlet of a lineup.
Yeah.
Even when Ozuna is hitting, like if Ozuna is hitting and d'Arnaud's hitting, they are dangerous, and they were, and he shut them down. So yeah, the command wasn't perfect, but I thought he looked fantastic.
Yeah, no, I thought he looked good, and like I like that he's kind of getting away from the curveball because the curveball was it was very Liberator / poor man's Kershaw, where it is the pretty pitch, and Kershaw's curveball is the pretty pitch, but Kershaw's going to the Hall of Fame because of his slider.
Yeah.
Like Gore's slider is better than his pretty looking curveball. And I like that he is fastball slider for the most part. He also has a good changeup that I wish he used a little bit more.
I think he will. Like, why wouldn't he? Especially with that curveball. Because I agree with you. It gets kind of loopy. And then when it falls in the middle of the zone, it feels like such a hanger. Sometimes he gets away with it. But sometimes, we didn't see it really happen in that game. But you can see it moving forward that if he leaves one of those over the middle, it feels like, just a tumbling wiffle ball that you hit out of the ballpark.
For sure. I feel so much better about him as if he only has 2 pitches working. I feel so much better about him if he's fastball slider as opposed to fastball curveball.
Because his fastball is so good. 95 to 96, ton of spin, just getting whiffs from really good hitters. I was very impressed.
It's great. All right, AL East.
AL East. The Rays looked fantastic this weekend. Yes, they played the Tigers. But when you look at, they had a combined score of 16-2 in the first 2 games. And I was the moron who thought, Tigers, do you have any pride? The Rays put out a tweet being like, yeah, it was just batting practice. It was fun for us. And I was like, do you have any pride? You just lost by 10. You have Joey Wentz, who I do not mind. I thought he pitched fine, but not great. But then Jeffrey Springs throws a 6-inning no-hit outing. 12 Ks, looked unbelievable. And that's what the Rays can be when healthy, right? Elite pitching. We saw it from McClanahan. We saw it from Springs. And then the hitting. How about Wander being unconscious?
Yeah.
home runs, stolen bases, taking pitches. He's such a good defender too. I think like we see why he could be a potential best shortstop in baseball. Like it's clear. You watch him and it's like the talent is crazy. He's got a bazooka arm. He's got tons of range. He's got plenty of power. And he was one of the few prospects in the last decade that has an 80 grade hit tool. Like he is so freaking talented. He just needs to stay healthy. But when this Rays team is fully healthy, they are so tough to beat because then you get after the starter and then you got Poche coming in and Fairbanks and Adam and so many good relievers. They are so good. That's my takeaway, that they are so fucking good if they stay healthy.
Yeah, man. I mean, top end talent is elite, and we saw McClanahan put together a good start. We saw Wander Franco play awesome. Drew Rasmussen was great. Jeffrey Springs was elite, as you mentioned. But I go to like Randy Arozarena might actually be good and not just a weird tournament guy anymore.
No,
I
he was
hope
good last year. Come on, he was 2020.
I know, but what if he's really good? You
Yeah,
know what I
if-
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
when
yeah.
we see him in the World Baseball Classic and postseason tournament types, all of a sudden he's God.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking him to be God, but I'm asking him to be a bit more of a deity than he is just like, yeah, good player, Randy Arozarena. I think he's somewhere in between those. And hopefully he can capture that for an entire regular season because I think that bumps his contract, his next contract. I think he has 2 more years of arbitration. I think that bumps him into the next level of player.
Good point.
If he can prove that he is a really good regular season player and an elite postseason player, you're probably getting $100 million.
Maybe more if he continues this level.
Yeah.
And I think he could. Like
He could.
And he's so entertaining, man.
And
'Cause
Jose Siri hit a bomb. Shout out King Siri.
Shout out King Siri. Should we move on to the Yankees?
Yes.
Johnny Brito, man, looked really good, and he is key for the Yankees. You see them go down with starting pitching injuries, right? Carlos Rodon, Frankie Montas, Luis Severino, and they need these young guys to step up. Schmidt looked fine. I'm being
Oh, he
biased.
didn't.
He didn't look good. But Johnny Brito looked great. The changeup was excellent. He was 95 to 97. I don't know how much stock I'm putting into it because that Giants lineup is putrid. I mean, it is
We'll get to that.
bad. Yeah,
Save
we'll
your
get
thoughts.
to that.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll move on to my second takeaway, which is Aaron Judge is just he's right where he left off, right?
Yeah.
Close to 1,400 OPS, hit a home run in his first AB at Yankee Stadium, and Giancarlo Stanton went 485 to dead center. Only a few people on planet Earth can do that.
Correct. Did I spew my propaganda about Johnny Brito to you this winter, or was that arm on the call up?
I think it might have been arm on the call up. We mentioned him in the podcast as someone we were all excited about, but we didn't get into it.
Yeah, dude's just a ground ball gremlin, man. Like he is belt and below, and he is like fastball, changeup, let's ride. And the fastball is good enough to get a bunch of soft ground balls. Johnny Brito, like he's not for real, but he could absolutely be a big league 5. I feel better about him starting games than Schmidt already.
Yeah, no, that I think was my takeaway. That if you're looking at some of these young guys, like who's going to be the 5
Johnny
when
Brito might be the
Rodon comes
guy.
back, when Severino comes back, like right now, it's not even close. Brito is the front runner, but we'll see, right? Yeah. It's against the Giants lineup, but at the same time, Clark Schmidt struggled against the Giants lineup, so we'll see. The Boston Red Sox are 2-1. They had a great series against the Orioles. And when I say great, I mean kind of lucky, but hey, that shit plays, right? The bats showed up. You got to shout out Adam Duvall. You got to shout out a lot of these guys. Like Casas hit the ball really hard. I thought Yoshida had a pretty good series for his first major league series in Major League Baseball. Maybe he didn't quite meet the lofty expectations that, a lot of people thought based on WBC, based on his numbers in the MPB, but I thought he was solid. I thought from top down, this lineup really showed up. Now, there's problems in the rotation. I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think that they're going to win the World Series, but they had a very exciting series against a team who we like better than them. And they really hit in every single spot, and they battled, right? So that's my takeaway. I'm really glad to see some fight from this Red Sox team with a really, really awesome offensive performance from the entire lineup.
Bro, you love making me the negative Nancy on this podcast. Like here I have to come in and rain on everybody's parade. Chris Sale looked terrible. I
Yeah.
mean, I am
His stuff
so
looked fine.
panicked.
I thought his stuff looked fine. He was just leaving balls middle
He's
and
so
but I took
dude.
the over in that game because the wind was blowing out a ton. Like,
Dude.
yeah, some went 30 rows in, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't as worried. When I watched the game, I was like, all right, he gave up like a 3-run home run. Like, I thought the box score looked a lot worse than what he was doing. I think he'll be fine. His stuff, it's not like he was sitting 91, right? Like he was still 95. But I understand what you're saying, because if he's bad, they're fucked. Like if he's bad this season, they are
Yeah.
royally screwed, because you can't expect the offense to put up 7 or 8 runs like they averaged. Like they put up 27 runs in 3 games. Like you cannot expect your offense to average 9 runs a game.
Yeah, I mean, pitching all weekend long kind of sucked out loud for both teams, Baltimore and Boston. Like there were just runs galore, and those are two fine lineups. We like the Orioles lineup better than the Red Sox lineup, but the Red Sox lineup is not the Giants. Like they are, a decent major league lineup, but those teams should not be putting up 9 runs a game against each other. So I am worried about the Red Sox rotation. And then all of a sudden they go to Cutter Crawford to open the next series, game 4, which is just brutal.
Yeah. Toronto Blue Jays. Alek Manoah, man, a little worried. He went up against a really good Cardinals lineup, but he didn't look great, right? His command wasn't really there. He was giving up plenty of hard contact, and he's a guy who, we noted before the season started that his peripherals don't look great. At least they didn't look great from last year. Now, I'm not saying he's, a bad pitcher. He's definitely not. He's a very solid pitcher. But I'm curious if he's the ace that he was last year, if he's the 2.24 guy. Now, I'm not predicting a 4 ERA, but if he finishes with a 3.5 or a 3.6, I will not be surprised, because that's maybe closer to what he is. And also, remember my gut feeling about Chris Bassett? I'm not ready to do a lap around that, obviously, but he did get shellacked.
It was T-ball.
T-ball. And Kevin Gausman, I feel bad for the dude. I mean, the Blue Jays defense didn't help him, and they didn't score anything. I thought he pitched way better than the final score looked. He's great. But if Barrios doesn't have a good start, Blue Jays fans, we got to be worried about the rotation. We really got to be worried. And
yes,
what do you think he's going to give us?
Not much, if anything at all. Yeah, like you have to feel really good about the front 6 in this lineup. So while you may be a teensy bit worried about the rotation, Springer, Bichette, Vladdy, Varsho, Kirk, Chapman is incredible.
So
Chapman is 6 for 12 to open the season. He pumped out a 111 on Sunday. Like Chapman seeing the ball really well in a contract year. We had a feeling that this could have been coming, and now it's coming. Kirk is obviously seeing the ball decently well. Varsho's been fine. Bo Bichette's been awesome. I think this lineup's going to put up a ton of runs, and they're going to see a lot worse teams than the St. Louis Cardinals. So I'm not ready to worry about the rotation yet. Let me get 2 more times through the rotation in, and then I'll have a takeaway.
Yeah. Moving on to the Orioles. I mean, if I'm an Orioles fan, I feel like I got robbed, especially with that, with Ryan McKenna dropping that ball in left field, and then Adam Duvall, because the Orioles, we kind of knew pitching was going to be the problem. And it has looked like it. And I'm surprised too, the bullpen hasn't looked great either, which was kind of a big shock not a shock, but I just expected a lot more from the bullpen, I guess. And they just did not perform. But a couple of hitters that I thought were awesome. I mean, Adley Rutschman is such a beast. I mean, his swing is so good in every at bat. Like, even if he gets out, even if he strikes out, like I just have so much faith in him at the plate. Every single at bat seems really good. And Austin Hayes, I mean, have a series.
Yep.
462, hit a bomb with 2 doubles. So the offense showed up, and the offense will continue to show up. But it's kind of similar to the Red Sox. Like, you got to find some pitching, because Cole Irvin doesn't seem to be it. right? Like there's a lot of guys in this rotation where you think to yourself, we got to score 5 runs to compete here. And then if our bullpen isn't shutting the door like last year, we're in trouble. Like
Yeah.
the Orioles, we'll see, man.
Yeah.
We need to see a lot more from their staff.
And Grayson really struggled in his AAA opener. He started against Taj Bradley and Durham on Friday, and he was not very good. I don't know. It may just be a hard year for the Orioles pitching staff.
What do you think about him? Because I'm hearing mixed things.
Grayson, I just can't take anything away from an opening day start.
I couldn't watch the start, so I was genuinely curious, like if you saw anything.
Yeah, I mean, like he and Bradley just didn't look like Grayson Rodriguez and Taj Bradley. And the thing is, you draft a guy, NBA draft, you see the highlight tape, but what you don't see is like all the shit that wasn't incorporated into the highlight tape. So when you watch a full start of Grayson Rodriguez, it's like, wait, he's not striking everybody out. What's going on? He usually does. Like I wouldn't be concerned about that, but like you're not going to see this start on his highlight tape. The beauty of baseball is he's going to start 30 games this year if he's healthy, and he will probably start 4 or 5 more games in Norfolk before getting the bump. If anything, Mike Elias is really happy that like he pointed to that and said, "Told you so." He needed more time.
Look at me. I'm so smart, you dick.
I'm so smart.
Good call.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because he's in Norfolk and not in Boston that this is happening. But I mean, Taj Bradley didn't look good either.
Two really good AAA lineups, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was like the pitching matchup from heaven on AAA opening day. So really interesting. Obviously, we'll do a lot of AAA talk on the call-up and all that too. NL East or NL Central for me.
NL Central for you, my friend.
We start with the Cardinals. While Jose Altuve is hurt, the St. Louis Cardinals have the best lineup in baseball. Full stop. Period. End of sentence.
Whoa.
Brendan Donovan, Tyler O'Neill, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Wilson Contreras, Nolan Gorman, who looked excellent, Jordan Walker, Dylan Carlson / Alec Burleson, and Tommy Edman. Where's the weakness? Nowhere.
And Brendan Donovan looks so fucking good.
Against so good.
He's so
against,
good.
Against the Toronto Blue Jays in 3 games, they had a 10-17 team OPS and over 110 plate appearances. They are the only team in the National League with an OPS over 900 through the first weekend. 13 batted balls in Sunday's game were 100 miles an hour off the bat or harder. And again, Bassett sucked, but like whatever, man. You do that against a AA arm, I'm really impressed. This lineup could be no breaks.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe Chris Bassett is good and the Cardinals are just that good. Maybe Manoah is really good and the Cardinals are just that good. That's why we obviously need more time and we're trying to, take away stuff from the first opening series. But yeah, man, I mean, there's no breaks. None. No one is an easy out. Like you go through all these lineups, we're watching baseball all weekend and it's like you get to the bottom of some of these lineups and it's like, all right, 1, 2, 3, right? Even when you look at the A's, like 1, 2, 3 and the 1, 2, 3 in their lineup is like, all right, we're probably getting to the next inning.
And like, are you worried about Whit Merrifield and Biggio and Espinal? Like, not really.
We're going to talk about the Angels later, like a lineup where it's like the front 4 just so good and then it drops off. Like the Cardinals and Gorman is huge and Walker is huge. Like if these guys really come onto the scene this year, I agree with you. They might have the best lineup in baseball. And then when you combine it with their defensive acumen, that's how this team is going to win games.
And the bullpen too. Helsley looked shaky on Thursday. He looked excellent to close the game on Saturday. So, I mean, don't take anything away from one game. Take everything away from 2 games.
Yeah.
The Brewers, don't panic about Corbin Burns. Like that's my only takeaway. He did this last opening day. He went 5 innings, 3 earned, 3 walks, 3 Ks last year.
Yep.
This year he went 5 innings, 4 hits, 4 earned, and like 3
Whatever
walks,
the
4
box
Ks.
score was. Yeah.
It was like almost identical.
Yeah.
Just I don't care. Like, don't worry about him. I wouldn't worry about anything this weekend, as weird as it sounds. Joey Wiemer got to make his debut. Cool. Happy about that.
I was going to say, too, of all the teams, I feel like I didn't have a takeaway from the Brewers at all.
Nothing.
Right? Like,
Nothing.
The guys who didn't perform that well, I'm like, I'm not worried. The guys who performed pretty well, I'm like, okay. Like
Here's
I
my
just
big
like
takeaway.
they almost like I don't remember watching them.
Exactly. Christian Yelich. I close my eyes and think of Christian Yelich post 2019 as like a 274 hitter. He's hitting like 275 right now.
Yeah,
Like
like they just kind
everybody's
of
just
did.
doing what they're supposed to do.
Yep, we're the Brewers and we brew.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. The Cubs, I do have a takeaway here, and this is aided by Michael Cerami of Bleacher Nation. Through the first two games, so going into Sunday's game, Ian Happ, Dansby Swanson were 9 for 14. Everybody else in the lineup was 2 for 47.
yeah.
Awesome stat from Michael Cerami. They're not as finished a product as some Cubs optimists would like to say, but Christopher Morel had a great opening weekend in AAA. Matt Mervis had a great opening weekend in AAA. Enough guys are close to make the product more palatable. Morel was already there last year. I think we'll be there in 2 weeks. And then, keep eyes on South Bend and Myrtle Beach and Tennessee. Like, the rebuild's going on. There is no denying the fact that the Cubs are a rebuilding team. They are not ready to compete this year, but they are close.
I like the pitching a lot. I thought Steele looked great. I thought
Yeah.
Stroman looked great.
Stroman looked awesome. Again, we talked about that. We expected him to look great on opening
But then
day.
at the same time, wind was blowing in. Like, I don't know sometimes what to think with them because the weather that they play in is so whack that sometimes it's like, well, the wind blowing in, the guy pitched pretty well. Like Justin Steele, for example, shoved when you look at the box score, but he allowed some hard contact there.
Yeah.
And there was wind blowing in. Like, that series in itself, I didn't really take anything away from it. I thought it was kind of weird. I thought what happened was kind of what I expected from everyone. I expected the Cubs bottom of the lineup to not be very good. I think that's why we're not high on them. I expected Swanson and Happ to be pretty good, and I expected it to be really a pitcher's duel throughout the entirety because of the weather. So I came away from it thinking like, all right, I got to see more from both teams.
Yeah, I think so. All right, the Reds. The young guns are here. Nick Lodolo got 22 whiffs in 5 innings on Saturday.
The bad man.
And if you get in on Graham Ashcraft at the ground floor, you're going to be a happy man. 7 innings of 1-run ball on Sunday. I think, obviously, like, we'll revisit this conversation in July, but I don't think it's insane to say that we should probably restructure how we view those 3 arms. All 3 are excellent. But honestly, like, if you said Green, Lodolo, Ashcraft, if you said Lodolo, Ashcraft, Green, Lodolo, Green, Ashcraft, I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not pushing back on any order here. I think Lodolo is the best. I think Graham Ashcraft is a lot closer to Hunter Green than many people around baseball would like to admit.
I think they're all kind of different, right? Because I don't think anyone could debate this, and maybe Arm would, maybe you would, but at least in my head, this is how I think of it, that Green has the most potential out of all of them. You look at his stuff, and you think it's just like, I mean, it's 101 with that breaking ball. Like, that's what Strider does. Like, any given day, if his stuff is on, he can throw elite performances. I think the best pitcher is Nick Lodolo, because I think even when he doesn't have his stuff, he can get outs, allow that soft contact, get that ground ball in Great American Ballpark. But Ashcraft almost has like such a high floor.
He's baby Burns right now.
Yeah, because his stuff is so he's like a combination of both of them, because he has not a high floor like Lodolo, but he's close. And then his stuff is not that far off from Green.
Yeah.
So it's like they all have their strengths and weaknesses. I think the pitcher with the least weaknesses is Lodolo. The most weaknesses is Green. Yes. But Green has the most potential. Ashcraft. So they're all special in their own ways, but the point is they're all really exciting to watch.
And that's the thing. I think when you take the pros and cons of both guys and move them up and down on a scale, they all almost even out at the same level.
All just like, it's like this weird thing where when they're all on, they're all fantastic.
So maybe just be really happy that you have 3 good number 2 potential guys in your rotation. Like, that 3-headed monster for the next 5-6 years, I think he's going to be awesome for Cincinnati.
But then it's Connor Overton. as
Yeah,
we're
but
speaking
like
today.
we
Maybe
haven't
he
seen
comes.
Connor Overton pitch. He may throw a perfect game.
Maybe, probably not. Maybe.
Probably not. The Pirates, all focus should be on Brian Reynolds right now. Only run on
Oh,
Sunday came on a solo home run from Brian Reynolds. Like that is my thing. Obviously, you've seen the reports that years 7, money over $100 million agreed to. The hangup is Brian Reynolds wants a player option after year 3. The Pirates do not want a player option. Can we get a compromise for the love of God? Give me an opt-out after year 5, man. Like just get pen to paper because you need him so bad in this lineup. You really don't have center field figured out. I love that Ji-Hwan Bae was in the first 3 lineups of the year. Bae played second twice, center in the middle game. But like against left-handed pitching, if you can get against right-handed pitching, if you can get Sawinski on the bench and put Reynolds in center, like you will be way more happy, I think.
I guess no, I'm glad you brought it up because I thought your takeaway was just getting hypnotized by O'Neal Cruz's talent. Like that
Well,
was my takeaway.
like
where
I
was
am
just
hypnotized,
I was
but
just
like get him a
drooling.
Robin.
Yeah, I was just drooling. I was like, he's so fast and he throws so hard and he hits the ball so hard and he had a base
so
hit
good.
where he hit it with one arm. I was just like, whoa.
No,
Like,
I think he's
I felt
incredible.
like a little kid. Like I was just watching a grown ass man, a superhero on the field.
As weird as it sounds, he's ready to be Batman already. And Brian Reynolds, like you need to financially lock up Robin because I don't think Brian Hayes is Robin right now. If he lifts, he could be Robin. Like not actually like bench press squat lift. I'm talking like air. Elevates. If he does unlock this next level of his offensive game, I think he could absolutely be the Robin to O'Neal's Batman. But I think that Brian Reynolds is like sitting there ready to commit to the next, 5 to 7 years of being a Pittsburgh Pirate. Just make it happen.
American League Central. The Minnesota Twins swept the Royals, and I'm stealing my takeaway from the Minnesota booth because I love the point that they were breaking down about Byron Buxton. And I noticed this, but they articulated it so well. They basically said like he's not playing to not get injured, if that makes sense. Because like we saw, there was a ball that was in the outfield with Mike Trout that I think if he dove, he could have caught. Like Buxton seems to be playing with this. I feel confident in my body. They were speaking to the on-field reporter about what he's been doing in the offseason to really make sure that his body is at peak performance for this season. And he looks like he's playing free. And when Buxton is playing free and healthy, this guy is one of the most talented players in our game. He's hitting 460. I don't even know if he has a home run yet, but I know he's got a triple. I know that he's playing really good defense. I know he's hitting the ball all over the ballpark, smacking singles, tons of hard contact. That was my takeaway because he is so key for them. The pitching looked great, but the Royals offense was putting up terrible at bats. So it's not like I'm giving them a ton of credit, even though I do already like this Twins rotation. I was glad to see them pitch well, but I just thought the biggest takeaway was if Buxton can be healthy and play free and do the things that we all hope, he is a special player. Special.
So is Joey Gallo. Special talent.
Special talent.
Yeah, great Sunday for Joey Gallo.
I would love him to be good. I mean, that's awesome. That's
a couple
awesome.
of nukes and a double. Shout out Joey Gallo.
Hit 40 bombs for the Twins this year. I hope he proves everybody wrong.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Listen, Larnach's been great. Buxton has been awesome. And Buxton is the takeaway for me, too. I also think Joe Ryan threw really well today. 6
fastball
innings, great. 3 hits. Like, the fastball is so good.
So good.
6 innings, a 1-run ball, punch out 6. And he was not bitten by the walk bug, thankfully. Just 2 walks in 6 innings. But, yeah, man, I thought Ryan was good. I think Buxton has been awesome. I'm with you, man. Minnesota, if they get positive vibes, like, this team can roll for a little bit.
And I like what you said about Ryan, too, because he didn't have command of his slider. And yet the fastball is just so damn good that he can get himself out of outs. Like, that's why he's got a pretty safe profile, because even when he doesn't have command of his secondaries, like that fastball fucking plays. It is so good. It rides up on you. He can throw wherever he wants. And that's why it ranked as one of the best pitches in baseball last year, because it's got high spin. It's probably impossible to see out of his hand with that slot. He's going to be a good pitcher. And this whole Twins staff I was excited about, but Buxton was the player who I'm like, I got to key in on, and he looked phenomenal. And the Twins booth broke it down so well. Guardians, great series against the Mariners. Holy shit. 3 games. They took 3 of them out of 4. My biggest takeaway is like, so funny. My biggest takeaway is Shane Bieber and his command. I think he might have the best command in all of baseball. This stuff was not good. Like, objectively, I'm watching. I'm like, I don't know how he's doing it. But then, the first couple innings, he's getting out of every situation that he wants to. And I'm like, all right, for the next 3 innings, I don't even give a fuck how hard it is. I don't care about any of it. I'm watching the catcher, and I'm watching to see if Shane Bieber hits his spots. It's clockwork. This guy's command is unbelievable. Even with a stuff drop off, he can still maintain an ace level type start. And I think that's huge because with McKenzie going down, when you look at the rest of the staff, it's like, who's going to win on any given day? Yeah. But if Bieber, even with the lack of stuff, like, that was my biggest takeaway, because I thought the offense was decent in spots. They did what they had to do, but they got bailed out by some errors. So my biggest takeaway was Bieber's location might be the best in the sport.
Thursday night, late night, watching Bieber and Luis Castillo go back and forth was a dream.
Castillo is so good.
That with the pitch clock too, like, that was baseball at my favorite. Like, agreed. I thought baseball at its best.
Was the best.
It was so good, man. I mean, like, all of a sudden you look down, it's like, wow, we're in the 5th inning and it's been 50 minutes. This is awesome. I love ball.
I had the same thought of, like, we're in the 5th inning and I feel like it's been like an episode of Family Guy. Like, it's just like a freaking, who's right there. I loved it.
It was so good.
The White Sox, they look kind of good. They look kind of good. I mean, they didn't play well, but they won, right? Like, it was, I thought it was more of an indictment on the Astros. I thought they looked flat. The pitching was good, not great.
Underwhelming.
The bottom of the lineup for the Astros felt non-existent.
Yeah.
But the White Sox won games. You got to give them credit. Like, but it's not like, who on the White Sox from this weekend did you feel like jumped out at you? I mean,
Yohan Moncada.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, that's a good point. He did have a great series. That should have been my takeaway. But I guess watching the World Series, or, World Baseball Classic, and then watching Moncada, I almost like, I guess it's based on expectations, right? I'm like, I feel like he's going to have a hot start, and he did. So he kind of met my expectations, even though, like, you shouldn't have those expectations for him because of what he's done in the past couple of years, I guess. I don't know. I went into this series not thinking clearly about the White Sox, obviously.
So do you remember San Francisco's even year voodoo?
Oh, yeah.
So 2010, 2012, 2014, they win the World Series. Let me introduce you to Yohan Moncada's odd year performance. Yohan Moncada has spent parts of 8 seasons at the major league level. He has an OPS plus under 100 4 times. He has an OPS plus over 100 4 times. His 4 OPS pluses that have been over 100, 2017, 2019, 2021, and now the start of 2023. Welcome to odd year Yohan Moncada, where he's going to put up an 850 OPS, and you're going to say, wow, he's back. And then next year, he's going to put up a 680 OPS, 700 OPS, and you're going to say, wow, sell him. It is so interesting watching him as a White Sox fan since 2017. The other name that jumps out to me is Dylan Cease. And like Aram, I think, put it best on our individual awards preview last week. He said there's a chance that Cease just runs away with the Cy Young in the American League. There's a chance Dylan Cease runs away with the Cy Young in the American League. He looked so good on opening night.
He's a bad
man.
He is real good. Real good. His stuff looked amazing. If he can develop over the years, even above average command, he'll start running away with Cy Youngs, because every single pitch he throws is elite. Every single one. Like, I saw that catcher cam. Did you see that video of like Jordan trying to hit him and all these guys? It looked impossible. You can't see it come out of his arm, and it's
high
at the same angle.
I know, and he's like kind of a slight frame guy. High fastball to Jordan on that ump cam was heaven.
I didn't even see it. I'm watching the video. How did Jordan see it? I mean, he did it
I don't
because he
know.
swung and missed through it.
Right.
The Royals, oh, man, they look like shit this weekend. They scored
no takeaway.
Yeah, they scored 4 runs, allowed 11. It wasn't that high scoring of a series. Jordan Lyles looked pretty good, but my takeaway is Bobby Witt Jr. looked like ass. And I was shocked because this is a young player who sort of went under the radar last year just because of how many good rookie seasons we saw. And his at-bats, like, it's one thing to go 0 for 10, and it's another thing for your mentality. I felt like at the plate, like there was some innings there where these Twins pitchers couldn't find the strike zone, walking guys, and then like you're swinging outside the zone at breaking balls like on a 2-0 pitch. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I thought being on that bench of Team USA, even getting some at bats in the WBC, he was going to come in hot, and he just looked so bad. And I was just so surprised. Now, Vinny P didn't look good. Sal looked great. Sal Perez. But Vinny, like, okay, he still put up good at bats, even though he went 1 for 10. But Bobby Witt Jr. went 0 for 10, and every at bat I felt like was so shitty. So that's my takeaway, because what else are you going to take away? Chapman was touching 100, 103, so that's something.
Yeah, that was interesting. The only video that I saw from the Kansas City Royals was Aroldis Chapman throwing 103. I just spent the last 3 days watching their AAA affiliate play. And let me tell you that Tyler Gentry is for real, and he should be a corner outfielder on that team in like a couple months. Gentry is very, very good. So that is my Royals takeaway. Because unfortunately, I didn't waste my time on the Kansas City Royals this weekend. I'm sorry.
I bet on the over in the last game, and it went 7-4. So I watched every second of that game, and I was flipping back and forth. Especially I was watching the first game too, because I wanted to see how Bobby Witt Jr. was. Like, I was really excited to watch him and Vinny, and I wanted to see what they were like. And Bobby would just, my expectations were apparently way too high for him in the early goings. He'll be fine, but it's just like, dude, you got to figure it out. The Tigers will be quick because they lost all 3 games to the Rays. They scored 3 runs and allowed 21. They looked like the worst team in baseball. They were so bad. So bad. Everyone looked bad. Green looked bad. Torque looked bad. Everyone looked bad. That's it. Like, they didn't pitch. The bullpen wasn't great. The lineup was non-existent. I got nothing.
Unfortunately, they looked thoroughly outclassed by the Tampa Bay Rays.
It looked like a LSU facing a Norfolk State. Like, it was a different ball game.
It was crazy. Like, it was a 1 seed versus 16 seed that goes according to plan. I'm not talking about Fairleigh Dickinson. Like, it was a different level of baseball that Tampa was playing as opposed to Detroit. And that's really sad to say about 2 major league teams. Really hope that Scott Harris rights the ship quickly, because the ship is not in a good spot right now. And I can't say that it's above water in Detroit, which just stinks. Yeah. All right. NL West. The Dodgers, starting pitchers through 25 innings, they allowed 4 earned runs, including Dustin May going 7 shutout. Brusdar Graterol sucked. He'll be fine. Offense has to show up consistently because they won't get a 3-homer night from Trace Thompson every week. But the starting pitching looked excellent. Of course, Syndergaard looked excellent. But highlight on Dustin May, because if that guy's good, that absence of Walker Buehler stings a whole lot less.
Absolutely. He looked like the ace that we all think he is when he's healthy. He was straight,
which is crazy.
Nasty.
They have an ace in Buehler who's TJ'd up. They have an ace in Urias. They have a first ballot Hall of Famer in Kershaw. And then they have a guy that looks nasty in Dustin May. And then Bobby Miller and Gavin Stone are down in triple waiting.
Don't forget about Syndergaard, who looked really, really good. The fastball at 94 with movement. The breaking ball looked good. The changeup looked good. He looked really, really good too. And like, if Tony Gonsolin can give him good starts, this is as deep of a rotation from AAA all the way up to Julio Urias, man. They are good as shit.
Yeah. And shout out Trace Thompson.
Shout out Trace Thompson.
Just shout out Trace.
Shout out Mookie. He was awesome.
Yes, he
Shout
was.
out
And
Kyle
he was
Taylor.
yes. Shout out Kyle Taylor. And shout out Mookie's sunglasses on Sunday afternoon. He was like pretty much wearing beach Ray-Bans in the outfield.
He's so handsome.
He's so crazy.
He's so awesome.
Dude. All right, San Diego. The only guy the offense really showed up against was Jose Urena, which like could be concerning. Although I am refraining from making a sweeping claim without Tatis in the lineup. So I reserve all opinion on the San Diego Padres until Fernando Tatis is back.
Coward.
I know.
You can say they put together shit at bats all
and
series.
they kind of did, but we'll see
like,
what happens when Fernando's there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess we won't judge them yet, but I will because they look like crap. The Rockies are like, well, you're probably going to talk about CJ Cron in a minute, but like they didn't pitch and they didn't hit and they didn't really play good defense either. Like it was a very flat performance from a team with a lot of hype coming into the season.
Yeah. I'll jump to the Rockies now. Is CJ Cron him? Is Kyle Freeland him because of that weird jump throw?
Yeah,
Chris Bryant. Is he him?
Kyle Freeland had a 3 ERA on the road last season and a 5 or 6 ERA at home. He's a dog on the road. He pitches really well.
Crazy play from Kyle Freeland. Like,
yeah,
could be play of the year type conversation. And that wasn't opening day. Was it opening day?
No, it was second game. Because Herman Marquez got the ball opening day.
That's right. And Herman Marquez didn't suck. Obviously, the story here is CJ Cron, who's already got 3 pumps. I mean, Cron was crazy this weekend.
Your WAR leader, CJ Cron.
No
0.6 F4.
God, I love early season F4. So much fun.
Fangraphs hasn't loaded in everyone because it was just from the first 2 games, but he was your WAR leader.
Like, how many WAR does Jeffrey Springs have right now? Like, he's got to be like a 0.3 win player right now.
Yeah, something nuts. I'm not sure.
Damn. All right. Giants were shut out twice this weekend. Once in a Garrett Cole start, once in a Johnny Brito start. And Johnny Brito's kind of like Garrett Cole, so I get it. But when I tell you this lineup sucks, I mean it.
Yeah. They look like Tigers suck. Like, brutal.
Horrible.
Brutal. I'm watching these games. I'm like, Clark Schmidt didn't look good, and his box score was okay. Like some of these Yankees relievers, I didn't think they had their best stuff or their best command. They were totally fine, right? Like it was just there's nobody in the lineup I'm afraid of. Like kinda. Like I looked at the lineup. I'm like, I don't know how they're going to string together wins.
I'm going to say something mean. They're kind of in a Rangers situation where they could spend $500 million this offseason, and I may not even be like thrilled about the team they construct.
They need like 400 million plus hitters in the lineup.
I feel great about Logan Webb and Doval, and that's it.
I agree.
That's a crazy thing to say about the San Francisco Giants, who won 107 games in 2021.
Exactly.
2021.
Yeah.
We are one full season removed. One single full season removed. And now we're saying that $500 million may not fix this team. So weird. And the organization had a bad year performance-wise in terms of minor league prospects last year. I have no idea what they're going to get this year. Like, this is a really dire situation, and they need Ohtani and someone else. That's what we're looking at with them.
Yeah.
Arizona, last one for me. Lean into the young thing, please. Gallen disappointing on opening day. Don't really care about that. But Dre Jameson looked great. Added eyeballs, 7, 8, 9 in the lineup with Carroll, Moreno, Thomas, Tommy Henry, and Brandon Fodder in Reno. And we're still giving Madison freaking Bumgarner innings in Major League Baseball games. Like, we don't need to. We saw what happens. You're going to lose 10-1 when Mad Bum takes the hill. Get Fott or get Tommy Henry up there. I'm excited to watch Ryan Nelson, and Dre Jameson look like the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Arizona Diamondbacks competed against a Dodgers team that is just simply better than them. This is a team where you watch specific players because as a team, like the bullpen just isn't that good, but they performed pretty damn well in this series.
And Christian Walker went yard. Like,
Yeah.
Ketel Marte didn't look great, but didn't look terrible. Like,
If you take 2 of 4 from the Dodgers, like you're having a good time.
For sure. For sure. So my thing is just like lean into the thing that makes you watchable. Like, don't give me more Madison Bumgarner. Give me more youth. Give me more young people.
So AL West now?
Yes, to wrap.
My concern with the Rangers was DeGrom, but the bats just came through.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to judge a DeGrom off this one bad start. You had Sandy, you had other guys who also didn't have great opening days. Gallen, like you just said. So I'm not looking too far into that because it is Jacob DeGrom. And I still think pitch for pitch, he is the greatest pitcher on planet Earth. He's not the pitcher I would take. I would still take Sandy because of the guarantee of innings. And he's also very close, but pitch for pitch, it's like DeGrom is still amazing. But
sure.
I mean, Adolis Garcia. I mean, I got the game above me. That's why people on YouTube maybe see me just peering up at the TV. Adolis Garcia just robbed a home run and he's hitting 625. I mean, I haven't been able to watch right now what he's doing offensively, but in the first 2 games, he was raking. Nathaniel Lowe was raking. Marcus Semien looked great. Corey Seager had a lot of, hard hit balls. Like, they are hitting. And I think that's the main takeaway, that this lineup, if they get into some troubles on the mound, they can overcome it with an onslaught of offense. So they've, in their first 2 games, right now it's 1-1 in the 5th as we're recording, but they've scored 27 runs in 2 games. Now 28 as we sit here in the 5th, but the offense just looked incredibly impressive.
Well, and that 28th was a solo homer from Josh Young as well. And Young is now 2 for 10 to open his season. So that's a guy that you were waiting on. Yeah, man. I mean, this offense can be good. I just have so many questions about the starting rotation and continuity within the starting rotation. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. If these guys take the hill, feel decent about the Rangers. If they don't take the hill, I don't feel decent about them. And unfortunately, they grabbed a bunch of guys that don't take the hill that often.
Hard to have massive takeaways with the Angels. They faced the A's all weekend.
Yeah, they ran into the buzzsaw that was Shintaro Fujinami for 2 innings.
Yeah, and then they demolished him.
Yes.
So, I'm not taking any hard stances on the Angels. This is a very easy takeaway. The top of the lineup looks fucking unbelievable.
Yes.
Taylor Ward is hitting like 470. He's hitting balls, even when his outs are hard hit, like he looked fantastic. Mike Trout. Do you see what happened? Oh, here's the big takeaway. Like, this is something that matters. Do you see Trout moved his hands down a little bit?
No, I did not see that.
Yeah, he looks like he has a different setup than even what he looked like in the WBC. His swing looks so short, and he's still generating an incredible amount of power. I saw him take one off Ken Waldichuk, what seemed like 600 feet to straightaway center field, and then Ohtani follows it up back to back. Yeah. Like, those 3, if they are hitting, they are just so tough to beat because the pitching looked really good this weekend. Ohtani looked like the best pitcher alive. Yeah. Sandoval gave up 1 home run, but other than that, looked great. And then Tyler Anderson, 6 innings, shutout baseball. But again, it's against the A's, so I couldn't have that takeaway. But my big takeaway is Trout has adjusted his hands a little bit, and he's still doing Mike Trout shit.
Yeah. Game of the night to watch tonight is in Seattle. Reed Detmers, George Kirby, both making their season debuts. That is an awesome, awesome ball game. It's either that or Ryan Nelson and Ryan Weathers. Do whatever you want there, man. Or Zach Plesac and James Kaprelian. Whatever. Logan O'Hoppe, 4 for 10 with a homer and 6 RBIs at the bottom of that lineup. So if O'Hoppe's good and the top of the lineup's really good, I don't care about 6 and 7.
Yeah. Houston Astros. Didn't really have
underwhelming.
Yeah, just underwhelming. I mean, the only guys hitting in their lineup are Tucker and Jordan. The rest, not good.
Yeah.
Pitching was fine. I thought Luis Garcia pitched fine. I thought Javier pitched fine. I thought Framber pitched pretty good. Like, it just was a lackluster, flat performance from the preseason #1 team in baseball. But I'm not going to take much away from them. Like, they are still so good. The bullpen is still so good. I am slightly worried about Presley. He's doing this with his arm, like he's shaking it out for all the people on YouTube who can watch me doing the motion. That didn't look good. Montero gave up that home run. They looked really flat. They looked really flat against a White Sox team that took advantage.
But listen, when they beat the Tigers tonight 12-0 and Hunter Brown throws a no-hitter, like, we're back.
I don't know, dude. What about Drew Smiley? I mean, yeah, they're going to kill him.
No, Smiley's a Cub, man. They got Matt Boyd going for the Tigers.
Kind of the same thing. It's kind of mean, but
play I'm Coming Home by Dr. Dre and Eminem, right?
Yeah. Oakland.
Nothing. Esteury Ruiz is a good fantasy baseball pickup.
Like, not even really. I thought his at-bats sucked.
But he steals bases.
Yeah, when he gets on. And he doesn't get on often.
We'll see how often he gets on.
Kyle Muller looked great. There you go. There's your takeaway. Kyle Muller looked great. Yeah.
We're a pro Muller podcast.
Yeah, he really, rough cameo with the Braves in the big leagues. Comes over in that Sean Murphy deal. 6'7", 250. Had confidence in his stuff against a really good Angels lineup. And we saw this Angels lineup put up 13 in game 2 and then 6 in game 1, but they had trouble with Muller. And Muller ended up not out-dueling Ohtani because Ohtani looked way better, but the A's won that game.
Yeah.
The model, remember what I said, the model? It worked.
The model.
I get it. Definitely go check out Ballpark Pal. It'll be live on Just Baseball soon, but until then, you can check out ballparkpal.com. The Mariners. They were underwhelming, but my big takeaway was Luis Castillo looked like one of the best pitchers on the planet. Yeah. And that was my main takeaway from them because I thought they played well, but they got guardianed in the sense where, they lost some games due to some unfortunate situations that tend to happen in games played by the Cleveland Guardians.
For sure.
But the one takeaway was I was floored by Luis Castillo. He is so entertaining. His celebrations after a strikeout, his moxie on the mound, the ex-dog in him.
His cojones.
His stuff looked unbelievable. Like, he looks like one of the best pitchers in the world. He looked so good.
La Piedra. Logan Gilbert followed him. 6 innings, a 1-run ball, punched out 7, walked 1. Gilbert looked good. I think Gilbert takes a massive step up this year. And then I'm really excited to watch Kirby and Detmers tonight. If Kirby looks good, if Detmers looks good, I'm not missing very many games in the AL West.
That'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. Make sure to get your Just Baseball merch that is still in the description. The link is in there. Go check out our guy, Kyle Taylor Portraits. Check on me behind Mookie, Quantrill, Ohtani. He can make any player. He's a fantastic artist. His Twitter is in the episode description. Send him a message if you want one of these on your wall. I highly recommend it. Definitely use our codes down there for BetMGM. Our sponsor, BetMGM. Look at that. People who are watching on YouTube, check out that Burley painting. It looks fantastic with the White Sox logo on the side. Looks so good. But other than that, great weekend of baseball. Had a blast. And for anyone looking to make some bets or just hear, a lot of the guys at Just Baseball break down each individual game, check out our Twitch stream, twitch.tv/justbaseballfans. I'm live from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We've already had a lot of people tune in and watch. It's a blast. I have a ton of fun. All the contributors have a ton of fun. And the chat's going wild, and people love just talking about the game. So that's definitely something to check out. With that, thank you, everybody.